I do, and I haven't seen you in a little while. It's Happy New Year to you, friend.
Yeah,
It's the new year now. Do you have goals? Do you have plans? Are you a New Year's resolution? You're gonna do some?
I'm not particularly a New Year's resolution person. I find them hard to keep up. I'm self-aware enough to know that I have a hard time keeping up with them.
Like it's not a discipline problem. It's just you stop caring so much about those goals.
It's kind of that too. Yeah. How about you? Do you set up New Year's resolutions? Like to
I
be
used
good,
to.
be
Be,
better,
that's actually all they are. They just said just be better.
be
Just be
better,
better.
do
I
better.
used to, and then I got stressed out by them all the time, and I thought I think this is the opposite of what people want out of New Year's resolutions. If you're getting stressed by your resolution, then maybe they're not the right ones.
If you're not stressed, are they too easy?
Um,
Are you
I
being
don't think
too
I was
easy on yourself?
setting.
I don't
It
think
was
you're hard enough on yourself, John. Be harder
yeah.
on
That's
yourself.
that's my Midwest sensibility. You could always do better than you are right now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think it was like, I'd set up schedules for myself, if it was
Mm.
just, riding a bike or whatever. And then I would, oh, I only, if I got like the rigor of, I got to be 3 days a week doing this. I got to do this. I got to play my instruments, like play banjo and practice. I got to get the scales. I got to, like, and then I just wasn't having any fun doing the thing that I wanted to do. And so then I just stopped.
I think if you watch that, what was the name of that movie? With
Titanic.
J.K. Simmons, where he's like
Oh,
the drum
Whiplash.
coach. Whiplash. Yeah, I don't
Yes.
think music is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fantastic movie, by the way.
Oh wait, you have a break it down. I didn't even see this.
Dude, I'm so prepared. This isn't even all that egregious of a thing.
Such a
But
random break it down.
all right, so here's what I learned. Something that I learned the other day.
Yeah.
A big box store, big box tool store near me has some tools. I need some new tools, so I've been looking at. They have a daily deal, so I look at the daily deals all the time. And then I was looking at all the battery operated stuff and started talking to people that I know and whatever. And I got to this idea. I wanted to hear your take. Everyone wants platform stickiness. Are, the Milwaukee's, DeWalt's, Ryobis of the world building the
Yep.
best platform stickiness purely through batteries? There's no way a battery can cost $350 to manufacture and sell. That is an inflated price point to keep you stuck on their tools because you don't want to have to buy new batteries.
Well,
That's my theory.
you're also so you're saying like you're getting stuck in the ecosystem, right? Because you have to keep with that brand,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yep. And the battery is the platform.
So what's interesting too, because I just walk past these like every day, is we have Ryobi. No,
Yep.
I think the green ones are those green,
That's one of the green ones. Yep.
but they don't even all use the same size battery pack depending on the tool.
Right.
So there is some like flexibility, I guess, because if you go with, so we have some that have just like the little battery that plugs into the bottom, and then there's
Yep.
like the bigger one that plugs into like our hedge trimmer, whatever.
Sure.
Or
Yep.
no, the weed trimmer, one of those. And then yeah, so the weed trimmer has one. Then our hedge like saw thing that you can tell I spend a lot of time gardening. That has a different battery pack. And then our lawnmower, we recently got, not recently, it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We recently got a gas power or a electric powered lawnmower. That's a different brand with a totally different battery that doesn't work with any of our other stuff.
See?
I'm kind of stuck with that, with those tool families, I guess, that use
Right.
the same battery. And so then it's like, if I get like a leaf blower, I might as well
Yep.
get a leaf blower that has that same battery. So yeah, it is kind of interesting. It's like, it's also just, they really kind of figured out a way to take advantage of moving away from gas powered stuff, right? Because,
Yep.
but yeah, the battery thing physically does kind of seem to lock you in because they're
Yeah.
expensive and you can't just buy backup batteries, and you kind of need backup
Right.
batteries if you spend any time with them.
And it takes work to find the plug-in version of the tool you're looking for.
Do those exist?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's hard. They're hard to find. I mean, kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
case in point of you have to buy a battery operated one, even if you want to have a regular plug-in, and that's hard to find.
What's your brand of choice?
I'm switching. That's part of the problem.
Oh,
I have been.
look at you,
I've
rich
been,
guy.
I've been yellow. I've been DeWalt for just about everything.
Hmm.
And then someone gave me a Milwaukee tool, and I was like, "That's really nice. I'm kind of into it." And now it's a whole world. The main conversation, really, all I put in the notes is conversations that are hard and hard conversations and things that suck.
Well, I think so there's two groups of these conversations. I think one is external conversations with customers, and the other one is like internal conversations you're having around kind
Yeah.
of your role and
Yeah.
cross-functional groups. We can start with the external one first because that's tough. Like you always kind
That
of wince
sucks.
whenever you have to send out a communication that's hard. Or
Have you had to do that?
I've had to draft, yeah, like the things that are like, hey, sorry about that.
After the fact or during? Like, hey, guess what? This is going to be out for a while.
Both, yeah. They were like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't really quite know what's going on right now, but we're working on fixing it. That type of conversation. Yeah, those are not fun.
I've had a few outages conversations, and I've been on the receiving end of an outage message.
Yeah, yeah.
And so just telling people, hey, this is a release we did. Don't do it. It's similar enough to an outage. It's just like, hey, if something's broken, we gotta, hold off. We made a mistake. That's just embarrassing and is a bummer, and it sucks.
Have they ever
Um,
been mad at you?
I don't remember anyone ever being mad. They were, like my Midwest sensibilities. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
They were bummed, but I think they always appreciated knowing what was happening. Where just like the truth is the right thing to do every single time, even if it's hard. I don't think anyone's actively or actually been mad at me, and you can kind of sense a little bit of appreciation. Maybe I'm just being overly kind, that sort of thing. I was on the other side, like so. I don't know if you had this. Pardot had an outage 5 years ago that was like for days, and it
Oh.
was significant. And I was on the receiving end, and we got no updates, and so it was regularly waiting. And we were in the middle of we really needed to know what was going on, and the outage from Pardot wiped a bunch of data. So we had a bunch of
Oh.
data that got, and we heard nothing. And it was just like call after call. Well, we're looking into it in the team and whatever. And being on that side of it, I was angry.
Can I ask, did you have a dedicated CS person?
We did, but they didn't know either. I mean, they weren't the person. They told us go to go to these calls to get the updates, and you could tell they were trained to like don't say anything, go and listen, and then some. This is I don't know. I can't remember when because Pardot Salesforce bought Pardot, right? They
Hmm.
were an
Yeah.
acquisition, so I don't know.
Pre,
This was after
before that. Yeah,
Salesforce.
yeah.
So anyway, that sucked. I hated that part, but
Yeah.
either way, I felt bad for those people.
Were you around for the renewal
Hmm.
talk? Did that have an impact?
Well, the interesting thing is we weren't a Pardot customer. We had already disabled Pardot, but it was there, and there was something. It's jostling my memory a little bit. We had already decided not to use it, and there was I think it was a security vulnerability or something that they
Mm.
had done in an update for Pardot customers that wiped out even non-Pardot customer data. It was a big deal. It sucked. So it definitely left a bad taste in my mouth for a lot. And it was really frustrating. But
Yeah, that's
I do
funny.
feel bad for the people. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you just like those engineers, whoever that person was, is kind of like the Cloudflare thing or whatever earlier this year. Just like somebody's having a bad day. That sucks. Yeah.
There is I think part of that though, and it's kind of the thing that you have to get over. I think if it's the external customers, you really can't communicate enough. Like
Mm,
it's okay, I think, to send out multiple communications to the same groups of people. I think there's usually sensitivity around that on the customer success side of like how much are we
hmm.
blasting these people with updates and that sort of thing. But I think when there's an outage, it seems like that is the right call is to be an over
Yeah.
communicator. That's one example of a tough customer conversation that you really don't have much control over. Any others that you can? I can think of another one that you haven't mentioned here, which I'm curious about, is when roadmap items slip that are exciting to a specific customer,
Mm.
and you are like in person or face to face or having a conference call with them and have to share that news.
I've had to do that a lot, and it's been
Yeah.
harder to say we were going to do that and we're not going to do that anymore.
Uh huh.
And those are tough. No matter what, you're trying to soften the blow as best you can. They're disappointed, especially like if you worked on a feature with them in mind and then
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
happened, you're like, well,
Sure.
we found out you are one of one that
Yep.
need this thing and we're not going to do it. We're not going to go after that. It's not that big a deal. Let's find some other way to solve that. Let's find some things. So you kind of build up some expectation with them, and then you go another way. That part has been that happens. I mean, as we're kind of thinking through conversations that are hard, some of those customer facing conversations are a little bit just the a normal part of the job to me, where yes, these things are hard. Yes, these things happen. Those aren't the biggest drains or the biggest frustrations for me. Those aren't necessarily, it's just kind of like what happens.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff internally, those are conversations that are harder
Yeah.
and things that I'm like, I want to avoid doing this to other people. You had asked
Yeah.
me the other day, like, is it ever okay to be defensive
Mm-hmm.
in a situation? And I'm curious what you think of that. I don't remember if
Mm-hmm.
you said it or if you're just like venting. But is it ever okay to be defensive? What do you think about that?
I think if behaving or reacting in a way that people are going to interpret as defensive, you're probably not handling the situation the way you should be. And there's probably another way to go about what you're trying to accomplish that you're not really doing in that situation. There's a way to have that conversation with that person, or that they kind of provoke out of you, that can get to you kind of being defensive about what you have going on,
Yeah.
or it can be like, I think it can be them questioning like your performance or your team's performance, and that kind of puts you in a defensive posture around like, what does that mean? And so in my experience, it's been helpful to think things through from their perspective. That empathy then lets you think about what you can provide to them that will be of value. So you can avoid being defensive in that situation, because if somebody's like I'll give you an example. If somebody comes to you, because this has happened before, and it's like, hey, we're having an issue with this person on your team because of this thing. And there might be things going on with that person that you know about, you really shouldn't share with that other person that's having this complaint. Whatever their level is, right? It's just not yours to share. And you know where they're coming from, because what they're dealing with is a real frustration. At the same time, you do have to be a little bit like lowercase defensive around sort of protecting this person and sort of their right to privacy and dealing with whatever it is they're dealing with. If you start from an empathetic point of view, it's going to help you avoid being defensive. And because of that, it helps you kind of understand like how to problem solve it too, because you're sort of thinking through it from their point of view, and trying to tackle it as like a problem to solve rather than like a thing I need to protect myself against.
I've had that with my team, the lowercase defensive, where I do kind of like not mama bear, but I get a little bit like I'm kind of here to protect them in some ways, especially when people are like, hey, you're your person didn't this or that. I I don't know if I've told you this story. So I had a mentor named Jay. Shout out Jay Dorenkamp. He was great. He's the CTO at a company I worked at for a while, and we were in a tough conversation. I think it's probably with shipping, release delaying or quality or that sort of thing. And somebody said something. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, Jay, I just remember he was a pretty quiet guy, and he was sitting at the table, and he just pushed himself back a little bit and crossed his hands in his lap, and just said, "Is that true?" And it just silenced the whole room. And just that idea, and I think about that all the time, not because it was a conversation about shipping or whatever, but it was especially in kind of defensive situations about my team, where if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, Nate sucks at this, and he always," then you might have even heard me say this. Jay comes in my head every time, and then I think, "Is that true?" And I've said it out loud. And
Does it work?
two people. It did. Like it has had the same effect that I felt of just come back to what actually happened. I understand your emotions in the situation, but what's true? Is it happening all the time? Did it happen one time? Is it a trend that and so then you kind of get into being able to solve it and be kind of to what you're saying about the problem that everyone's experiencing, not about the person that it's pointed at. And so it's been incredibly useful tool for me just to, when I've gotten lowercase defensive for the sake of my team, that's been really helpful.
Another reason not to be defensive is even these hard, like they're probably hard for the person giving it. Like, let's go back to the example of like, someone on your team isn't doing what they need to do in the view of someone else from another team. It's a data point that can be useful in you sort of understanding stuff that you might not have great visibility on for that person's performance. And so you might then hear something similar from someone else on another team. And by not being defensive and by being like open to listening, you can then kind of understand like, oh, this person like really, I missed it. They're not really hitting their mark on a couple of these things. And either I need to like provide some additional coaching or help support there, or like we have to have kind of a different conversation with this person about sort of how we can get back to performing at the level they need to be. And so there's an element of like, if you're overly defensive, how well are you actually like listening and thinking through what the implications are for being defensive? It might mean that you end up kind of like taking a hit in terms of how your team's perceived, because you're not willing to kind of course correct on stuff. And so sometimes it's worth saying, like, and I don't know if it's falling on the sword, but it is like, yeah, like we missed the boat there. But knowing that now, I can kind of like help figure out how to come up with a way to fix things going forward. And so
Yeah.
I do think like the element of defensiveness, I think, is not helpful. Is like, one, it's like just an immediate kind of like jerk reaction to something happening, that you're not necessarily thinking through. And the other is, it doesn't necessarily help you align with other folks. Like, if you're hearing it from multiple people, maybe it is true, and maybe it is something you need to act on. And so you're not doing yourself any favors by being dismissive of it, or acting like it's not happening without necessarily knowing or digging into it. Another example you have on here is territorial conversations, which can be a tough thing to have to discuss with folks. I see this happening quite a lot in PM, PMM worlds. One of the ways that can be kind of like a funny thing about this is sometimes in our space, especially like PMM, it's like the territory of, I don't want that. Like, we don't want that responsibility.
Oh.
You need to keep that over there. And so that can also be a hard conversation, because it can come off, depending on the level of person you're talking to, is like you're trying to like shirk your responsibilities or duties, and you have to kind of like tiptoe around that. But it is like, we are not the right team for that. We are not equipped for that. Like, we will do a bad job at executing on it.
It's like boundaries.
It's but it's like, it's boundaries, but it's like a territory. It's like anti-territory. Like, we're not going to fight you for that. We don't want it.
That's funny.
Yeah. How about you? Is it usually like it's a land you want to grab or land you don't want?
This was a lot, like, in my head, I thought, every time I hear someone say, hey, that's not my job, why don't you go over there?
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
But sometimes, John, it isn't their job. And so sometimes it's just like, where is the right place for this to land, and how can you make that happen? So I guess my example back, or my question back to you would be like, if you're having that conversation where it's like, that's not my job, do you take it on, or do you try to find whose job it is elsewhere? Or do you force it on them?
I don't think I force it on them. I was just trying to think through. I don't think anyone's ever said no one ever has ever said it's not my job with a collaborative attitude. And that's what I hate about it. It's always like, well, not my thing. You figure it out. Yeah. And then I think I go and find who has to do something about it, and kind of like, someone has to do this because it's something someone has to do. And so, okay, help me find the right person to do that. We still have to solve the problem. Just because shouldn't fall inside of your racy doesn't mean it doesn't need to get done. Right. So that sort of territorial stance of, not my thing. Like, could you be less helpful? I don't think you could. But it's funny when you're talking about the defensiveness and that idea. It is exactly this, the example that was in my head is, this has happened where we needed some help from marketing, and marketing was overran. They didn't have any time. They didn't have any bandwidth. It was in the tools. They're the right people. They're the right folks for what we needed to get done. And someone on the call was just like pushing pretty hard against helping and being a part of it. And I was kind of surprised they were defensive, but it was exactly what you're saying. It was like, hey, we just can't do this right now. That was really what the situation was. And the defensive attitude was a little bit of, this is going to fall to us anyway because it is us, and I don't want to do this. So that their defensiveness was really like, gosh, I got to do this anyways. Some annoyance around that. But they were trying to hold a boundary, and they just couldn't. That sucks. Let's hope they don't find it annoying.
Do you, is it ever framed back to you as like, that's not in our goals?
No, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that. Have you?
Yeah. It's like, we're not gold to that. You can't hold
same attitude. Oh, so like similar to a sales rep saying like, well, I'm not paid on that, so I'm not going to do it. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I haven't. No.
Yeah. It goes back to that. I can't remember if I've said this on this podcast. This is like a really tired thing to say in the age of NIL, but like one of the things that folks used to say about why they like college sports more than pro is because it's more about the name on the front of the jersey than the name on the back of the jersey. And so there is this thing sometimes where and I've used this language in calls before where I'm just like, if you want a bonus, the org has to meet their goals, right?
Yeah.
The pool doesn't get funded unless the org hits its goals. So whether or not you can directly connect this specific thing to your specific goals in whatever work performance management system you're using, I could really care less about. The bonus pool flat out does not get funded to the amount that you get your bonus you want to if we don't hit our broader organizational goals. And so that's like the bigger drumbeat that everyone needs to be aligned to. And sometimes folks, I think, get really like kind of defensive about like, hey, I'm not gold. My manager doesn't ding me if I don't do this thing for you. So it kind of means nothing to me. And so it's just kind of like, I get that, but at the same time, like we still have to like hit a revenue or bookings goal for whatever period we're measuring against. And so your part in that, you do. And so you should view like the motivation in that respect, right? And then use it on your performance management review as like, this is a thing I took on extra that wasn't even gold towards. So it has an upside for you.
It's a very markety way to spin it. You just got to spin it on your own goals.
Lessons learned, John. What's yours?
My lesson learned this week is I read an article in The Atlantic that you can change your personality, that they're like, it's like, just like a muscle and something you can practice. They broke down into 5 different, I think the acronym is OCEAN. And so there's 5
So
different.
did you start working on that?
I did. Yeah. Openness.
Yeah.
So that's your creativity, your imagination, your ability to be imaginative.
Yeah.
Conscientious, like, are you on time? Are you organized? Are you diligent? Extroversion is the E, which you know all about. Agreeableness, are you warm and empathetic? And then neuroticism is the N, and that's anxiousness. And so each one of these, if you identify in yourself as something that you want to get better, you can actually practice getting better. And so I think the
extrovert, you
article,
can improve extroversion.
Yep, you can. That's actually one of the things that they're talking about, is this kind of not a preconceived notion, but just this general idea that you are this type of person or that type of person. They were generally addressing like, no, you can change. So you can practice being less anxious, and because each one of those is a scale. And so like, if you're worried about the future, worried about what might come, worried about what would happen, that's the example that they gave in the podcast. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. Huh.
It didn't make it into my 2026 goals for what I'm going to do for myself. I'm pretty just going to stick right where I'm at.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, mine. Who is your favorite Beatle?
That's funny you asked that. Today I asked Claude which one it thought I was. This is true. Which do you think Claude thinks? Which Beatle do you think it thinks I am?
Was this your Enterprise Claude account? I love IT auditing these and just being like, what is this guy doing during this workday? Yeah. Okay, what did it say?
Paul McCartney.
Did it?
And I think Paul's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting choice. That's fine.
Well, why is that bad? Who's your favorite? Where's this even going? This feels like a trap.
I mean, I feel like the right answer is just George Harrison, right? I mean,
you're probably right. Yeah.
At any rate, the one of the interesting things in this world of like whatever post cancel culture we live in is what a terrible person John Lennon was through and through, and just like the pass that he has largely gotten from the world at large. One of the things that I learned about kind of recently, but there's another one too. One was that he literally almost strangled to death a woman, except for Harry Nilsson pulled him off of her before she died. This is in like May Pang's memoir, that like John Lennon was going to kill her by strangling. So that's crazy. And then the other one was that this was like a BBC News article or something, that was the school that he went to, like elementary or middle, whatever they call, I forget what level of school it was. They basically refused to acknowledge or try to like take credit for him having been at the school because of what an obnoxious bully he was while he was there. So, like how funny. Schools will just be like, hey, this is like our alumni, or like, look what our alumni is doing. Right. Like here in Durham, the brothers that do the Stranger Things show, like they've been featured on like the district website and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
They removed every like mention. They like refused to take place in any publicity around John Lennon because of what a terrible person he was as a child at
That's
school.
Wild. I never heard any of that.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
When I think of John
Yeah.
Lennon, I think of when he played. I can't remember what song they played, but this is in the Yoko years. He played with Chuck Berry on some late night show or whatever, and so it's like him playing some song, like a Chuck Berry song with Chuck Berry,
Mm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
midway through the song, Yoko like grabs the microphone and starts yelling, and you could like Chuck Berry's face is just rage. You can tell he's like, "I hate this woman."
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Oh man. Yeah. Anyways, John Lennon, terrible person. George Harrison, best Beatle. Unless you're John.
I was named after John Lennon. Fun fact.
Were you really?
No. That'd be amazing if I was.
That was really going to be funny if that was true. Yeah. But anyways, all right. We are back every Tuesdays in the new year. Happy 2026, everybody. You can find
2026.
more information about the podcast and our guests at productischange.com. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. See you, bud. Bye.